Hi there. Welcome to the Rugby Elim podcast. My name is Joe and I'm here with two esteemed guests. I've got Martin Saxby and Kate Cadugan Evans. Is that how you pronounce it? Cadugan. Oh, wow. Okay. Should have figured that out beforehand, but there we go. Today we're talking a little bit about fasting, and we're doing that because we are in a season as a church thinking about taking ground, and we're thinking about that on many levels. Obviously, we are in the process of moving out from our church building in Cambridge Street and moving to take ground in the town centre. And we believe that that's a part of what God is calling us to do as a church community, to move forward, take ground as people of God. And prayer and fasting is an important part of that. And so we're calling people to pray and to fast, but we are also aware that fasting isn't something that we often talk about. And so we wanted to talk about it here today. So first and foremost, how do we feel about fasting? What's our experiences with it?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point, Joe, because, in the past I've had seasons of prayer and fasting, but I haven't actually fasted for quite a long while. Okay. And so I sense maybe being asked to engage in this conversation has kind of given me a bit of a shove and caused me to rethink. But it is clearly a very important part of Christian discipleship.
Yeah. Okay. How about you, Kate?
Yeah,
Feelings?
I think it's important. It's in the Old Testament and the New Testament. Mm-hmm. It's not just something that happened long ago in the past in the Old Testament. And I do it fairly regularly.
Yeah. Great. Okay.
And I was struck just thinking about this, that actually Jesus doesn't instruct us to fast. He assumes that we fast. He says, when you fast. Yeah. And that's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And just in that passage, actually, in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus talks about fasting. And one of the things that he says is that it's kind of to be done in secret. You're meant to make sure that you are doing your hair and your face, make sure you're not looking like all disheveled and everything, because it's meant to be done in secret. And I think that plays into why we don't talk about fasting very much, because it's that kind of, if you're talking about it, then you're kind of bigging yourself up, and that's not what it's about. However, if we don't talk about it, then we just don't know how to do it, and we don't. Yeah, there's an air of mystery around it, and so I guess we want to dispel a little bit of that mystery today. And so let's try and do that firstly by just answering, what is fasting? What's it about? How do we do it? What is it?
It's actually when we don't eat food.
Okay.
That's apparently in the Old Testament, the word for fast, and the New Testament word for fast both mean not taking any food.
Yeah, okay. So when I hear people saying that they're fasting Facebook, fasting Instagram, fasting YouTube, it's not the same thing?
No, that isn't the same thing. I would say that's just deciding to put aside a distraction that takes up part of your life. Yeah. But I don't believe that's what is said in the Bible, or what the Bible calls a fast.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And that's not to say that those aren't good things to do. Like abstaining from social media is, I think, often a very good thing to do at times.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, but it's clear that it's not fasting.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
The Bible does recognise partial fasting, where Daniel restricted the content of his diet for a period. But Kate's absolutely right. When the Bible talks about fasting, it's about food.
Yeah. Okay.
But not just as an end in itself.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's helpful there. I think eventually we'll get to some practicalities about how people can actually fast. But what is the end of fasting? Why do we do this?
I think for me, it's primarily about focusing on God. And it's a declaration of our commitment to him and to seeking his will and his purposes. It's not about trying to kind of coerce God. I'm doing without food, God, therefore you've got to do this. But it's actually demonstrating to God our intent.
Yeah.
He will then make his response.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything to add to that, Kate?
I think it's showing a humility before God. We're sort of saying we don't want food because we want more of you.
Yeah.
And we wanted to submit almost to his authority in our lives. And one way of showing that is by not eating.
Yeah.
Because we get full up when we eat food. It can be a comfort factor, actually. And to not eat food, I think we're saying any void that we want filled needs to be filled by God. And we're setting aside that time. It's amazing how much time we spend cooking, preparing food, and then eating it. And then having that extra time to spend with God is quite incredible, really.
Yeah. And I think, like, just on the back of that, one of the Old Testament words for fasting is ta'anit, which comes from the words to afflict oneself. And so some of the Old Testament holy days, so particularly the Day of Atonement, you're meant to deny yourself. And the word literally is afflict yourself. You're meant to go through pain. You're meant to go through suffering by abstaining from food. And somehow this is connected to our engagement with God and our worship with God. I think one of the things that confuses me often about fasting is the kind of idea of how it's meant to work with prayer. And prayer is this thing that it's engaging with God, it's talking with God. What has not eating got to do with my relationship with God and my communication with God, or praying about circumstances? Is there something, am I meant to see that connected, the physical and the spiritual?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Actually, physically, if you read about fasting, it says that it gives you a clarity of mind.
Okay.
That something physically happens when you deny yourself food. And I think that if we're going to fast, there needs to be a purpose for it, in the sense that you're not doing it. This isn't about doing it to lose weight.
Sure.
But this is about, I think it's to do with your heart. You're saying to God, I'm denying food, but in its place, I want to spend more time with you. I want to show you that I'm willing to give up something for you.
Yeah.
But also the giving up of food, there is evidence sort of physically how it can sort of sharpen you, make you more alert. And I think that happens spiritually as well when you deny yourself food.
Yeah.
You get a spiritual sharpening, I think. And I think you can hear God more clearly.
Yeah.
And that's to do with the physical benefits of actual fasting.
Yeah. Is that something you can attest to?
Well, what I was just thinking was that Stuart Blount was preaching on Sunday about how we have good intentions. And we're like, today I'm going to do it. And we always fail. And one of the things that I fail to do all the time is to be conscious of the presence of God and seeking his purpose. And actually going without food, feeling hungry is a great physical reminder. Why am I doing this? I'm doing it for God and to seek his face. And so that physical actually affects the spiritual.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. And I think for me personally, when I've fasted, I can't say that it sharpened my spirit, because basically all I feel is hungry. And eating food is like something I think about a lot more. But it's the times when I found it really helpful is when I've connected that hunger with, actually, yes, I'm doing this because I'm actually hungry for God. Like there's something that satisfies me more than food. Like Psalm 63 says, you satisfy me more than the richest of foods. And that's kind of what we're going for, isn't it? Like that longing for God in fasting. So yeah, it is difficult. I think it's meant to be difficult, but it is also meant to be instructive and point us to the Lord. So we've talked a little bit about what fasting is. When should we do it? Is there kind of a pattern, a rhythm? Is it appropriate to do fasting? Anybody?
Do you mean in principle or on a very practical?
Just in practice, yeah.
I mean, I think whenever we're seeking God's face to fast is a good thing to do. And some people have a practice throughout their lives of fasting 1 day a week. One of the little tips that I picked up when I first started fasting was don't fast from morning to morning.
Okay.
Because you've already gone 8 hours without any food if you start your fast in the morning. So if you're learning how to fast and you're fasting for a day, I think the best time to do it is in the evening. You start after you've had your evening meal, and then you can eat again 24 hours later. Your body will cope with that as a 1 day fast much better than starting in the morning. But there's no law. It's what works for you, which is key.
Yeah. How about yourself, Kate?
Yeah, I'd like to think that there's a purpose for it in as much as it gives you more time to spend with God, or if you've got something specific that you feel you need to hear from God, and sometimes fasting just helps that, gives you a clearer sense of him and what he's saying to you. But like you said, Martin, we're not under the law with this. And for me, it's very much a heart thing. And it's about God increasing and us decreasing a little bit when we say we're not going to eat food. It's something we can give up and say we don't want to do that for you. But there are, I think, specific times, like we've asked as a church, that we come together to seek God in prayer and fasting. And that's acceptable, I think, for us to do that. So that sometimes, I think when we pray collectively and come together collectively to pray, there's a sense of God moving, and his presence is very much with us. And when we collectively then go into a season of prayer and fasting, I think we're showing God collectively, it has more impact, I think, if we're all doing it together.
Yeah, and we see that a lot in the Old Testament, don't we? There are tons of times where the people of God come together, they call a fast. So I'm thinking like the book of Esther, for example, when there's a crisis for the people of Israel, and they need to pray and fast so that can be resolved. And so they do that together. And equally in the book of Jonah, these non-Israelite people hear the word of the Lord from Jonah, and the king commands that people don't even people and animals don't eat anything, and they present themselves before God, and maybe God will relent from what he's going to bring. And so there's something powerful about our collective and communal fasting. Doing it together is really important.
And in the book of Joel, in Joel 2, which is really a prophetic book and a prophetic chapter, he calls, there's a call for everyone to come together, including the priests, the young, the old, and then it gives the impact of what happens after that fast. And later on in that chapter, how God will pour out his spirit on all flesh, and he will move, his heart will change through that collective prayer and fasting. So it can be very powerful.
It is very powerful that this sense of everyone being called to prayer and fasting, and obviously we want as many people as possible to engage in this, but it is probably worth just dropping in that for some people at this time it may not be appropriate if they've got a health issue or a diet issue or some other reason, and so people again mustn't feel under law where people have got a good reason, and there are good reasons, then they should feel free not to take part in it, but they can still pray.
Yes, exactly.
That's good. Yeah. I often think that fasting is, as we've said, like afflicting yourself, is that voluntary suffering. But if your body is already going through suffering, like if you've got an illness or a condition, then it's probably not wise to add additional suffering on top of that, because you're already going through something, and somehow God can meet you in that suffering already, which is something that we believe. it's a powerful, profound thing.
And as Kate was saying, God knows our heart.
Yes.
And there'll be people who can't engage in the fast who will feel really bad about it because they want to be able to. Yeah. But God knows their heart.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. So I think we've kind of discussed that fasting really goes hand in hand in prayer. I think you've communicated well, Kate, that like fasting almost frees up time to pray and to spend time with God. And I think sometimes in my life I've fasted, but I haven't necessarily changed what I'm doing in the day, and so it doesn't couple. And I think those are the times where it feels like it's less meaningful, where because it has to go hand in hand with the prayer, and for it to be really meaningful.
Can I just say something too, that fasting isn't necessarily easy for everybody or any of us. And if you decide one day, I'm going to commit today to fast, and you can't get through the day, nobody should feel condemned about that. Mm-hmm. This is, give it a go. And sometimes it takes a bit of practice. You can even start by missing one meal and then increase that over time. Yeah. I'd hate for anybody to say, I'm going to do this, and then they just can't get through the day. Yeah. We don't want anybody to feel they failed. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're all on a journey, and we're all learning about all of this.
Yeah.
And for people who have a high caffeine intake, to just suddenly drop your 10 cups of coffee a day, you will really suffer with a bad head. So, take it and pace yourself properly.
Yeah.
And just to maybe counter those deeply pastoral comments, which I really love. One of the things I was challenged by, I heard a seminar by James O'Ladder in the summer. And he runs the Prayer Storm ministry. And one of the things he said that really struck me is that fasting is meant to hurt you.
Yeah.
And again, it links back to the whole afflicting yourself, that kind of thing. Yeah. And so I think there are some people who really need to hear what you've just said, that you need to be wise about it. You don't want to you bring any sort of judgment on yourself or condemnation at all. But I think there are some who need to recognize that the pain of fasting is the point. Yeah. And it's pushing through that and like leaning on the strength that God gives is the point and is the prize of the fasting as well. And so I think some people just need to be encouraged to push through that and to own that as a part of the process as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So, we've talked about quite a few things here in the fasting. I wonder if you've got any kind of just reflections on the role that fasting has played in your life, and maybe the journey you've made into kind of making that a habit in your lives. Any of you?
Not quite in answer to that, but I just wanted to pick up on something you said about the importance of linking the prayer with the fasting. Yeah. And I think one of the things that I learned was that you need to have some sort of pattern that you decide on for your prayer. Okay. Otherwise, you go through the day and say, I fasted, but I didn't actually do any praying. So people need to think through when they're actually going to spend that time in prayer and how they're going to use that time. Yeah. What scriptures are they going to use? What focus is their prayer going to have? Just so work it out in advance, because if you just say, I'll leave it to the Spirit, very often, because we're leaving it to the Spirit, we're not listening to the Spirit, and we don't hear where He's leading us to.
Yeah. This is where it helps to be an Anglican, doesn't it? Have the prayers. That's good. It's good stuff. Yeah. How about you, Kate?
Well, I think with the fast, usually the prayer time should be when you were going to eat or even prepare the food and eat. So that's quite a good marker to think about first thing in the morning, midday, and in the evening again. For me, I just find that when I fast, it brings me closer to God. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. And I think it gives me more time just to sit and listen. I have to remind myself when I'm praying or spending time with God not to keep talking, but to actually listen. Yeah. And depending on how busy the day is, the listening can get abbreviated.
Sure.
So for me, having a rhythm of prayer and fasting in my calendar gives me that time to spend more time with God and to listen to him. And I just feel very powerfully impacted when I pray and fast.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not till the evening. It can be working through the day into that, and then it all sort of comes together, and I really have a closeness with God by the evening even. It might not happen in the beginning of the morning even. That can just be starting your usual morning set up with God sort of thing. Yeah. But by the evening, I usually feel very impacted by the presence of God.
Yeah.
And it's very good to have a notebook with you during those times of listening for two reasons. To note down what God is saying to you, but also at a very practical level. When I'm listening, my mind starts working and I start thinking of all the other things that I need to do. And one of the best ways I've found to get those things out of my head is write down in my notebook. Yeah. Don't forget to arrange for the car to be serviced. And once you've written it down, you can forget about it, and that helps keep your mind clear.
That's interesting what you said, because I think that there can be a battle in the mind when we go into prayer and prayer and fasting as well. The distractions come in, and we're told to take every thought captive, and sometimes I certainly have to do that. That it's a real mindset that I have to have and say, no, I'm not, no other thoughts. I don't want any other thought. And I have to push through that. So that's actually quite a practical thing to do, Martin. Thanks for that.
And another tip that I bang on about quite a lot is hopefully you're going to be reading scripture during this time as well as part of your listening to God. You may use it on your mobile phone. Hopefully you've also got a real Bible, because if you're reading the Bible on your phone, you will get lots of distractions because there's so much else happening on your phone. So put that one away and use this one.
Very good.
Yeah, it's good. There's wisdom for life right there.
Yes, that's definitely really good.
Well, I think we've discussed a lot of stuff, covered a lot of ground, and I'm sure that there's something helpful for people. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next time.